Cool. All right. We'll wait a couple more minutes just for more people. Yeah, go on, Rishi. You can create a new composition. But we'll do that. Matt, stop staring at me. That's weird, man. You're freaking me out.
Easy guy, Rishi. Relax.
Wait, do I need to download After Effects?
What a classic guy. Yeah, mate. Do you have any design software on your computer? Or are you just all emails these days?
No, I don't have anything.
What a roaster, Joel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Got him.
I need to talk to you.
Just about done.
All right, we'll wait 2 more minutes. We'll get into it.
And taste for artificial dairy. She's clearly not a gold digger.
Oh,
Bad news.
Yo.
Based on his rhinotoxomania, he
forward ticket that glass, Joel. You won't.
I won't. You're right.
Small cut of the inside of the left nostril led to infection in the cavern face.
It was very nice meeting you, Mel.
It's not true.
Oh, someone jamming some music, eh? Oh, Ed Sheeran. Classic.
Oh,
Matt, stop it, please. I'm gonna mute your mic. You're muted, mate. See you later.
oh, rough.
All right, let's get into it, eh? Hey, thanks for coming out. This is gonna be fun. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or just unmute your mic and ask questions as we go, because I probably won't explain things super clearly. Hopefully I do, but we'll see how we go. Now, first things first, if you have After Effects, go ahead and open that up. Obviously some of you are downloading, so I am recording this, and so you can follow through it again at a later date when your After Effects is downloaded. But today, basically, we're just going to go over some of the basics, how to animate shapes, how to animate some type, kind of learn and figure out how to use the interface, and then go from there. So it'll be a pretty simple animation, but all the skills that you should learn through this animation, you should be able to use and like add your own flavor to it and make some pretty cool stuff. Cool. Feel free to talk back to me as well, by the way. So it's just not my voice going the whole time.
Sounds good, Joel.
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah. So animation is a pretty cool a cool skill to have, I reckon, anyway, just because of the way the world's going and how everything's going into a digital space. For me personally, as a graphic designer, there's like adds a whole new dimension to how we can kind of visually speak and visually communicate. You know, you can create a brand, for example, that works really well on flat. But when you begin to animate and bring it into a space where things can start to move and stuff like that, you can have a lot more fun and you can say a lot more through a bit of movement. And so that's why recently I've kind of been putting a bit more effort into learning and upskilling in these areas. And so I'm not a professional animator, I'm not an expert per se, but I've been, luckily enough in my job to be able to do some of this for the last couple of months and kind of hone some of these skills. And I think, to be honest, it's a pretty worthwhile skill learning. So that's why we're here today. So I appreciate you coming out. It's going to be fun. So today we're going to animate something like this, if you can all see my screen. So a few different techniques and things to animate. Oh, we're rendering. How good. So I'll play that again without the render in the middle. So super simple, just a bouncing ball, a moving path, then changing screen. And at the start, obviously, you've got the moving text fading in and out and going behind a mask. So these things you can kind of take away, utilize, and kind of bring that and create some really cool animations with that. I have a few examples of some of the stuff I've done with basically these skills that you're going to learn today. If I can find them quickly. Here we go. So here's just like the creating of animating a logo. Super simple.
Cool.
You can create like little moving poster layouts. So again, just moving image, moving type. Super simple,
Cool.
but it can look pretty effective.
That's cool.
You can do stuff kind of like this, just like random playing around. Super easy to do like type stuff like this, which we'll explore kind of today, just with the
Thanks, G.
sick. That one didn't, oh, there you go. Like stuff like this is super simple, but it kind of brings a whole new element to logos and brands. Again, super basic.
Dope.
Yeah, so the skills you'll learn today will basically, you'll be able to create stuff like this yourself. So hopefully that'll be cool. Hopefully you pick that up and be great. All right, let's get
When
into
did you
it.
start doing After Effects?
When did I start?
Yeah.
When did I start? Last year. Yeah,
Good, man.
probably. Yeah. So I've just been super fortunate to have jobs that have enabled me to kind of learn it on the job, and so I could just play around, watch YouTube tutorials and quickly learn. So it's been good. All right, so let's open up After Effects, and I will close this so I can do it with you. So it should look something like this, and we'll just go New Composition. So if we click on that, we're going to get this new composition settings. I'm just going to give that a name. I'm going to call it Master Comp. And we'll make the width of that 1980. And then we'll make the height of that 1080. And so that's just normal, 1920, sorry, by 1080. And that is just normal kind of 1080p video width. We're going to make the frame rate 30. The human eye can see 24, so anything above 24 is a good place to start. Some of you might be on 25 automatically, but I like to round up just 30. And then we'll make that duration there probably just 30 seconds. And all these settings we can change later, so it's not critical that you get it all right now. But that's what I will start with. And color background, I'll probably just go black. So 000 and the RGB value. So click OK, and that should bring that up here. You'll be able to see in your composition layers here that you have your composition here, the master comp. I have a couple of others just from the made one that I just made before. So don't worry about that. Yours won't have that. It'll just be that by itself. All right. So here down in this section, this is called the timeline, and this is where we're going to spend most of our time, most of our energy. This is where all the animating kind of takes place. This here obviously is where you view your composition, and when you play back stuff, it's going to be viewed here. In this section, that's where you bring in all your files. If you have files to bring in, today we won't need to. And then over here you have some of the other things like aligning shapes and type, all your character for type stuff, some effects and presets. We probably won't touch much of this today, maybe the align one and maybe the character one, but that's probably about it. Cool. All right, first things first, I want to go up in here. This is the toolbar. So in here you've got your arrow, which basically means you can click on things and move things. Another little grabby hand, which does a similar thing. Obviously your zoom, and we'll zoom back out. You've got rotate, you've got a camera. We won't touch any of these, but you've got the rectangle tool here. And now if I click and hold on that, it'll also give me these shape options as well. So we'll jump into this. We'll jump to this now where you grab a rectangle tool. And now that we've got that selected, we're just going to click probably outside of our composition and just drag that across like so. And that's going to create a rectangle for us. And because I'm a little bit fastidious with things like this, I'm just going to make this, I'm going to click into context, the drop arrow under here and the timeline. This is going to bring up this rectangle panel. I'm just going to click on that drop arrow again. And in here, it says size. So this is, I'm just going to edit the size just to be the exact shape of our composition. And so there's these chains here. I'm just going to unclick that. And now in this first number value, I'm just going to put 1920. And then the second value, I'm just going to put 1080. Now that makes that rectangle the perfect size of our composition. Now with the shape layer selected, I'm just going to go up into here into our align panel. And I'm going to make sure it's on composition. And I'm just going to click on this guy here, align horizontally. And then this guy here, align vertically. And now that's perfectly centered that shape in our composition. Now this is going to be our background layer. And so to start with, I'm just going to click up here on the fill. And I'm going to make this shape black. And now in our master fill, I think, what did I do in this one? Oh yeah, so we went from black to purple. So we'll do a color animation, a kind of color fill animation to this. And so to do that, I'm going to, again, on our shape layer, contents, rectangle, and now fill drop down arrow. I'm just going to click on that. And now here we see color. This controls our color. And this stopwatch here, this is the button that you click on to create keyframes. Now keyframes are what control your animation. And so I've just clicked on here and it's just dropped a keyframe. And now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to drop another keyframe, which is this button here. And now I'm just going to change the color value to something like that. What that means is that keyframe says, at this point, I'm going to be black. And at this point, I'm going to be purple. And so it fills in the space between those 2 points. And so if I play that by pushing spacebar, you'll see that it just fades nicely to purple. Cool, easy.
Very cool.
Easy. So even just with stuff like that, you can create quite effective animations just by creating shapes and having the color transitions. And so from here, I'm going to grab our type tool. So up here, this T, I'm just going to click on that and I'll just click anywhere in our composition and I'll just write, what do I write in the other one? Bouncing ball or something like that. And so I've typed that out. And now this has appeared in our timeline as well. And so just on that, I'm going to double click on that section, highlight all of that. And in our effects panel down here, I'm just going to click on paragraph. And that will bring up that. I'm just going to left align that. And then in character, if you click on character, this is where you can change the typeface, the size of it, the leading, which is the space between words, and the tracking, which is the space between letters. And so set that to however you want it. And then to get out of that, you just come up here and click on your selection tool again. And now I'm just going to drag that into the center. And now from here, there's a thing called an anchor point. And that's what this little thing here, if you look on my screen, that represents an anchor point. And what that means is that all of my transforming, my position, scale, everything is dictated by this point here. And so how this all works is that this composition is mapped out pixel by pixel. And so this anchor point here is on a certain pixel point. And so when I input, say position, it's changing the value of where that anchor point is. And so I want that anchor point to be center so that I can center this type properly. And to do that, I'm just going to hit Y on my keyboard. And now that I've got or you can click it up here. But it's easy just to click on Y. And now I can move this anchor point around without moving anything else. And now if I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hold Command, and I don't know the short key if you're on a Windows, sorry. But if I hold Command, it allows you to snap to points. And so I'm just going to snap to the center, which is there. And then I'll just let go. And now the anchor point's changed. And now that it's changed, I'm just going to jump into a line again, and I'm going to hit align horizontally. I'm going to align vertically. Easy. I'm actually just going to make this, this type's probably actually a bit big for me. So I'm just going to make this smaller, and I can just do that by in the transform section under the bouncing ball under the type.
Can you take that off, please?
I can just function this number here, and I might go, I want it 70% of what it currently is. So I'll just type in 70 and I'll just push enter. And now that's shrunk our type. And now if we look in here, we've got a mask kind of working where this text gets revealed from and then hides away. And so to create that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this rectangle tool again, and I'm just going to go hover over that to roughly the shape of our type. And for now, I'm just going to make that a wild color like that so I can see it standing out from our background.
Love it.
Love it. I'm just going to place that behind our type. And I mean, that's probably fine, something like that. And now using our bouncing ball type layer, we're just going to hit on the drop down arrow there. And we're going to want to start outside of here. So I'm just actually just going to move, without clicking on anything, I'm just going to move that across. So it's out of the frame of that shape. And now, obviously want to animate it coming into the center of the point again. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on that stopwatch. So that means that we're adding keyframes and we're now animating. So I'm going to hit that, which means this is the start point, and maybe in about a second, I want it to be there. And we can hit the center tool again to get the perfect center. And so that again, that just means that between 0 and 1 seconds, we're just moving from there to there. And now I want that type to probably stay central for about a second. And so I'm just going to move my scrubby bar, whatever you want to call that, to the 2 second mark again. And I'm going to put another keyframe. And so that means that between 1 second and 2 seconds, there's no position change. But now between 2 seconds and 3 seconds, we want it to change position again. And so I'm just going to click and grab on this number, and we're just going to pull that across until the type is outside of that box. Did I go too fast, or did everyone follow that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Can you start again?
Yeah. Just leave this chat, Matt, and I'll do a private lesson for you. Sweet. So it should animate something like that. And now we obviously want that pink shape to kind of act as a mask to our type. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on our shape layer. I might just rename that by hitting enter. I'm just going to type in mask just so I know that that's the shape layer. And I might as well rename our background layer as well, just to tidy things up. So I'll call that background. And I might as well lock that background as well, so I don't accidentally click on it and move it. And so to lock a layer, you just find that lock and click on that square. And now that we're here, I'm going to click on that mask layer. And if we go into layer and find that option called track matte. And now if we scrub across and click on alpha matte, now it's going to work. It's going to work as that mask. Obviously, our type's now gone pink because it's gone the color of what our mask color is. And so I want that that text to be white. So I'm just going to, with the mask selected, I'm just going to click on this fill color, and we'll just make that white. And now that text is moving through that mask.
So cool.
Easy, cool. All right. Now that we've done that, I'm going to just grab that rectangle tool again, except this time hold down and scroll down to ellipse tool. Actually, before we do that, make sure that no layer is selected. Otherwise, we'll be creating a mask. So make sure no layer is selected. Click on here, ellipse tool, and then just drag out a circle. And I'm going to make that about 500 size-wise. And again, I'm just going to make sure that anchor point is central by clicking Y, Command, and then dragging that into there. And now I'm just going to center that again. Actually, and that shape's probably a bit big, so I might go to, yeah, 450. Oh. Cool. And now we want to, what do we do over here? So now we're going to animate that drop-in motion. And so jump back into here. I'm going to wait till that, figure out where that type disappears. That type disappears at 3 seconds. So at 3 seconds, I'm going to make this ball disappear. So I'm just going to rename that to ball. And if we go into the transform menu down here, there's a thing called opacity, and this is how you control the transparency of a layer or of anything really. And so if that's at 0, basically the shape's see-through. When that's at 100, you've got 100% of the fill color showing. And so I'm going to click on here on the stopwatch to start an animation. I'm going to drag through to 4 seconds, and then I'm just going to punch in here 0. And then I just realized I did it backwards. So I'm going to punch back 100 into that one, go back to the 3 second keyframe and put 0 into there. And so now that circle's disappeared, and until our type finishes, and then boom, that circle starts appearing. Cool. And now we're going to start to animate the position of the ball. And so same again, click on that stopwatch, chuck that first keyframe down. I'm just going to do it every second just to keep it real clean, and then we can always condense our keyframes later on to kind of get the right speeds and stuff. And so out here on 5 seconds, I'm just going to not drag that one. I'm going to drag that second number value under position. I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to drag that to say something like that. We'll do a round number, just to make it tidy. So about 720. So now that we've got that movement. Cool. And now if you see, we'll jump back into here quickly. Just to get like a real natural kind of looking bounce to the ball, what I've done here is that every time it kind of hits the floor, it condenses and squashes, kind of like a ball would in our I guess earthly physics. That's kind of how it works. So we're going to replicate that by playing around with the shape of our circle. And so what I'm going to do here is, okay, here's where I've gone wrong. I'm actually going to move the anchor point, not from the center, and actually move it to this point here on the bottom. And so to do that, again, just hit Y, Command, click down there. But now that's probably marked up our initial keyframe here. So I'm just going to delete that keyframe, center that circle, and that's fixed the issue. Hope everyone got that. And now that we're here, what was that?
Hold on.
What did you do?
What did I do then? I'll go over that again.
Yeah.
So what happened is that I actually wanted the anchor point on the circle so that I can get that condensed look. and I currently had it in the middle, but when I changed the anchor point, it now changed because of that. The anchor point is where all the animation kind of gets its value from. Now it's changed where the shape kind of sits. The anchor point has stayed the same from our initial animation keyframe, but now the shape's changed because of where the anchor point now sits on the shape. And so I'm just going to go back to our first position keyframe, just delete that one, or you don't even necessarily need to delete it. Just get into the same frame as it, and then just click on that center, align vertically. And just notice. Cool. And so now we got that all fixed up. And now that we're here, I'm just gonna, this bar here just lets you zoom in on our timeline. And so at the moment, I'm looking at every second, but if I scrub that across, now I can see every single frame. That gets a bit hard to work in when you've got every single frame, because of, especially if you get a real long timeline going on. So I'm just gonna pull that back slightly. And every 10 seconds is probably good enough. Or maybe every five frames, sorry. Not 10 seconds, 10 frames. Sweet. So I'm just going to go over to our five frames from our 5 second. And in here, I'm going to actually no, on the 5 second, I'm just going to hit the scale stopwatch. And then 5 seconds across, 5 frames across, sorry. I'm just going to add that to, say, 120% there and 80% there. And that means we just deformed our shape to give that squashed kind of look. And so now it's, the ball's kind of like hitting the floor and compressing. And now 5 frames later, so on the 10th frame, I'm just going to revert that back to 100, 100. And now we've got that kind of, the energy building up and the energy releasing. And then I actually, on playback, obviously that dropping of the ball is super slow because we did it in a second. So I'm actually just going to click and drag all of those keyframes, move this guy to about in the 4th second into the 15th frame, and just click and drag, holding shift, and bring that there. So now that's sped all that up slightly. It's probably still a bit slow, so I might even go into the 10th frame, drag that across, see what yeah, it's a little bit better. Cool, and so that's, what's that, 10 frames of the drop. So we're gonna go 10 frames of it bouncing back up. And what I wanna do here is I wanna go back to where it is in center, grab the position number here. So that's 765. And now we scrub across to 5. And I just want to click on that and put 765. And so now it's bounced back to its original position. Although what I didn't do was put another keyframe there. So I'm going to undo that. First, I got to remember to put a keyframe there. And now come here, go 765. And so now we got that bouncing ball going on. Cool. Easy. And now, these, at the moment, all our animations are doing all its movements in a linear manner. And that basically means that all the movement within every single frame is equal. And so it's like, if you imagine a graph, for example, it's just a straight line. Our movement, our velocity to kind of, I forgot what the terms are, but it's kind of like basically just going like this. But a ball doesn't necessarily fall on an equal time like that, nor does it bounce back up. There is more energy straight off the bounce than there is at the top of the bounce. Like when the ball gets higher, it kind of slows down. And so to add that kind of effect to it, what we want to do here is we want to highlight those two keyframes, which is the drop movement. And I'm just going to right click on that and I'll bring up this panel. And on the keyframe assistant, I'm just going to click on basically one of these three. It doesn't really matter. Well, it kind of does, but I'm going to click on easy ease in for now. And what that does is that if we click on this menu here in the graph with one of these keyframes selected, we now see how the graph works. So here's your, if you're looking at my screen, here's the linear one that has no differentiation between keyframes. And now that we've put an easy ease in there, it's going to look something like that. Now I want probably the opposite to happen, where it gets dropped and it takes a while and it speeds up where it gets near the bottom. And so I'm just gonna move that to make the graph kind of represent like something like that. We might drag that across slightly. Might even drag that guy to the middle. Cool. So now if you watch that playback, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but when I scrub across like this, there's not much movement. And now when we get this graph high, there's a lot more movement going on. And so basically just built up most of the movement near the end of the fall. And so we're actually going to do the opposite to these keyframes over here. So if we click back out of our graph menu and then highlight our two keyframes between the 20th frame and the 5-second mark, and do the same again. So right click, keyframe assistant, and we'll go easy in again, and this time it should be right. So yep, cool. That's kind of the right feel. So we're just going to edit that again. And you can kind of do it however you like, and you can play around with this until you get that drop of your ball feeling quite accurate. And so I'll click out of that. And now if we scrub through that, you've got a lot more of a bounce to it. And it's feeling a lot more natural than it was before. And now what we can do is say, instead of re-putting all those keyframes in over and over again, I'm just going to select all of those. And I'm just going to go Command C, which is copy. Again, that's what it is on Mac. If you're on a PC, I couldn't tell you what it is. Probably something similar. And now I'm going to bring my scrubby bar just one keyframe out from the last keyframe there. I'm just going to click Command V, and that's just going to paste the animation again. And so now we've got.
No, you can scroll back slowly along the timeline. See what those keyframes are doing.
Yep, from the very start, you mean?
Even just an animation that bouncing down.
Yep.
Just drag it across.
Oh, right. Like just drag it across that, you mean?
Yeah. So, like, you can see what this do.
I'm struggling to hear you. Sorry, man. You're real like far away from your mic or something. Did anyone pick up on what is? What is that? Nah. But now, anyway, we'll carry on.
Buttons they can hear.
Sweet. But we might just paste a few more of those keyframes in. So just go along and do that. I think that's probably enough. So now we've got that ball kind of doing a good old bounce. Cool. All right, what should we do next? Let's have a look here. All right. What I'm going to do now is if we go up here into our toolbar, and there's this pen tool here. Now I'm just going to click on that. And this basically just works as you can come in and draw a keyframe, not keyframes, but points like this. And you can kind of create your own shape and kind of do whatever. Great tool. You can have lots of fun with that. But I'm just going to create like a bit of a highlight on the ball. Let's just pretend it's a glossy ball. And so I'm just going to, with the pen tool, I'm just going to click and drag just so we get some of those handles come out. And I'm going to click and drag again and just try and match that curve of the circle. Something like that will do. And now if that's still selected, I'm just going to go up the top here and see stroke. And then this is the pixels of how many pixels on the stroke. I'm just going to click on that. And I'm going to input maybe, yeah, let's go with 10. And then you can click on that one, that box next to it, and you can kind of pick whatever color you want to go with. I'll just say somewhere in a dark purple, why not? Cool. And now what we want to do, if we come across here into this, no, not that section. If we come into the drop down arrow on that shape and just click on that arrow, and then again, click on contents, click on shape, click on stroke. Under here, we have this butt cap, classic. Now I'm just going to turn that into round cap. And that's just going to make the edges of that circular instead of square like they were. So it looks a bit nicer. So I'm just going to click off that. And now we've got a fill on that. So we want to get rid of that fill. No one likes fill. So if we go into, I'll just click on that guy. And in the fill section here, if I, sad. If I just click on option on your keyboard and just click on that a couple times until you get that bar, which is just transparent with a little red stroke through it, that means that there's no fill. Cool. And now obviously, I don't really want to reanimate all those animation keyframes we did to the circle to that highlight. And so that's could be potentially a little bit annoying, and it'll be super frustrating if you were to go through and copy and paste all that to that. And so a better way of doing that is actually grouping these two together. And so one way to do that is if we just select both of those, I might actually before we do that, I'm going to click on the ball shape. I'm just going to copy and paste. And so we've got two ball layers, and I'm just going to turn the original ball layer off, which is just here by clicking on that eye. And so now we've got that ball and our highlight. I might just name that highlight just to keep things tidy. And now I'm going to grab both of them, grab them selected so I can hold down shift and click both of them. And now I'm going to right click. And I'm just going to come down here. Someone's on a motorbike or something. So that was that. And go pre-compose. And I'm just going to call that ball. And what that does is that creates another layer, another composition like this.
Joe, what is
yes.
pre-compose?
What was the last bit of that question? Sorry, mate.
What is pre-composing?
Pre-composing. So that's basically like grouping layers. And what it does is it makes a separate composition. So at the moment, we're in a composition. This is our master composition. What it does, it creates another one, which you can then drag into this composition. So it's essentially just like, and what it does is what we'll go into it. So what I did there is I grabbed both of those and pre-comped. I'm actually going to not do that. And I'm just going to grab the ball by itself without the highlight layer and pre-compose just the ball. And we'll call that.
So like groups them into like another layer pretty much.
Pretty much. So it's just making another composition really. But what it does is, I'll show you. Oh, it didn't do it at that time. Okay. No, that's actually, okay. Go back. So we've got the ball, we've got the highlight layer. I want another composition to be exactly the same as the size of this circle, which is 450 pixels by 450 pixels. Instead of pre-comping, which is one way you can do it. But the reason I didn't want to do it that way is because it leaves you with, what we saw before was the ball, but it also left you with the rest of a 1920 by 1080 composition. I actually just want a composition that's the same size as the ball. So instead of pre-comping, I'm actually just going to jump into composition. I'm going to go composition settings. I'm going to click on that. And then here, I'm just going to name that ball layer. Make that 450 pixels by 450 pixels. Cool, and those settings are sweet. Okay, and now we've got that ball there. What I'm going to do from our master composition, I'm just going to click on that ball, click on the highlight shape, and then copy. So Command C, jump into that ball there, Command B, and then we're just going to we're just going to center that. And I don't know why that ball's black. That's a bit weird. So bear with me there. There's a little bit of something funny going on.
We bear with you.
Anyway, we don't need all these. Oh, that's probably one. Here we go. That makes sense. Joel, just scrub across, mate. You're on 0 opacity. That's why. So we don't actually need all these keyframes in this layer, and so I'm just going to delete all those. Don't worry, we still have them saved on our other composition. So just delete all those. Get rid of all your animations. Make that circle 100% opacity, and then just position that guy to wherever you want him. Cool. And then if we jump into our master composition, bring in that ball layer over top. We can delete that highlight layer from the original master comp. And then what we can do here is go into our original ball layer, which we copied and pasted before. I'm just going to select all of those keyframes. Command C, copy. Jump into this new one and go Command V. Cool. And now, see, we've got an issue going on here, and that is because of where our anchor point is, but that's no stress. What we can do is before we copy and paste that, we can just, so Command Z to go back a step, jump in our ball layer, Y, down to that bottom one,
Yep.
Done. And now if you go Command V, it hasn't solved the problem. Never fear, there is another way. So if we jump into, just look at the values here. What we can do is jump into this guy with the ball there. Center that. And now remember these values. A little bit painful, but we can go and zoom in. And what we're going to do here is we're going to quickly copy and paste these two values here. So I'll grab that one for starters. and just chuck it into here. So that's the position value. And we'll chuck it into there. And then we still got some sideways motion because we haven't changed those ones yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our original ball layer. Oh, actually, no, we're not into this. Sorry guys, I'm just thinking on the go here. That second value there, we're just going to copy and paste that, and we're going to jump into here, move that across to where it jumps back up, and then we're going to paste it into that one, and that'll fix that.
Oh yeah.
And then
I guess if we started as you would normally with making a pre-composite layer, then it'll be all good, right?
that'll be all good, yeah. And to be honest, we don't actually. The only reason I made a new composition was just to be able to bring in, that pattern that you see there and get that rotating without the highlight rotating.
Yeah.
And
true.
What that was is in the pre-comp, I'll bring it into this layer, this mask. So what we'll do is we won't worry about that ball layer at the moment, just because it is having a few issues. And so there's no dramas, but we'll just delete that and we'll just keep that. But what that meant, if I pre-comped that, was that basically that I could add that pattern to the background and get that rotating without the whole ball rotating. So I would have jumped into, say, this layer here, and say if we had obviously our pattern, which I'll quickly grab. What I could do is I could get that guy rotating within this layer. Let's just go. And so they'll be rotating like that. And if I was to bring that into master comp, now you can see that that ball would have been rotating without the whole composition rotating. And if I was to rotate stuff here, now our highlights rotating as well, which we don't want. And so that's why you make a pre-comp, so that you can basically embed animations within a group of layers. Is that cool?
Yep.
Sweet. So we'll delete that layer and we'll carry on. Sorry about that.
All good, man.
No worries.
Yep. So now we'll actually, we may as well animate that kind of moving path that we saw in the original one.
Yeah.
And so that's, this explores pre-comps anyway. So this is probably better just to jump straight to this anyway. So this will have a mask, obviously, because we're masking out the edges. So let's make that. So if we jump into our composition here, what I want to do is I want to grab the shape tool again. This time we want the rounded rectangle tool. Now I'm just going to grab that and make a path like so. Currently it's got no fill and it's got a stroke to it. I kind of want to reverse that. So I'll make that value 0 pixels. And I'll just click on that fill. This time we want fill. And just click on the color, whatever color you want. Cool. And now I'm just going to create another one. I shall just jump into the rectangle, see what size it is. Cool. I might make that just 20 pixels high just to make it nice and pretty. And I'll make that 550 again, just to make myself happy. And now I'm going to just create another one next to it, just a smaller one. And same thing again, I'll just make sure that that's 20 pixels high. I'm just going to untick that, punch in there 20, and we might as well make that 100. Why not? And now I just want to grab that and bring that there. We'll just move the anchor point there. Okay, cool. Now grabbing those two layers, I'm just gonna do Command C again, so Command copy, and then we're just gonna paste. And then I'm just gonna drag the two new paste ones out side by side. Cool. And now if we grab all of them, kind of bring that across central. And then now we're gonna create that mask layer again. So if I just grab a normal rectangle tool and say I want the path to kind of be roughly that long, I'll just drag that across and I'll make that another color just so it stands out from everything else in the meantime. And now this is where we're going to do pre-comp. So I'll just rename that layer to mask 1 and grab all those, right click, pre-compose. And I'm just going to call that lines. And now that pre-composed layer has just popped up here. And I'm just going to double click on that and it's going to bring our window to that. Now in here, I'll just move that mask layer to the bottom. And what I might even do is I may as well pre-compose those as well just to tidy things up. So what I'm going to do within this new layer, just with those 4 lines without the mask this time, I'm just going to right click, pre-compose, and I'll just call those, what do I call the other one, lines? So I'll just call that lines 1. Cool. And now what I want to do here is jump into the line here, just Command C, Command V. And so now we've got a copy. And I'm just going to position that. Oh, we might actually just join those two together. Something like that. Now I'm going to select both of those and just move them across slightly. To do that, I just held Shift and then used one of the right arrow and just touched that a couple of times, and that moved it across. Now that we're here, I'm just going to go, we want to animate this so they're moving across, but we want to do it in a way where it kind of loops. And so to do that, I've got to do a bit of math really. And so on this one, I'm just going to, sometimes what I like to do is just take a photo of those values, just so I can remember them. And so we're looking at the position values here at the moment. And what I'm going to do is we're going to start to animate that position. And so I'm going to click on that stopwatch, maybe move 3 seconds, and then say at 3 seconds I want, not that value, we'll grab that one there, to move across to, say about there. I don't think it really matters at the moment. And so you've got over 3 seconds, you've kind of got that movement going on. So you can see what's happening here. And now with that second layer, so I might actually just flick this one off so I can just deal with that, that second layer a bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start that somewhere around there. And what we actually want to do is go put a keyframe on that guy in the position, come across to 3 seconds. Might actually just turn that guy back on. And so the position value for that was 1240. So I might copy and paste that, scrub across here, and then go into this position here, 1240. And what that, if I'm correct, that position is now the same as that position, which it is. Perfect. But what we have is one of them's moving at a faster speed than the other, so we've got some crossover there. So to tidy that up, this is where your maths comes in. I'm just going to turn the line layer off 1, bring that to 2060, and then Holly, what's 2060 take away 1240? Go. Do some quick
That
maths
is
for us.
1400.
1400. Nice. And so in our original line layer, we want it to move by the same amount of pixels. And so we start at 1240. Now what's 1240 take away 1400? Go.
Wait, what's the original question? 1240 take away how much?
66.
What was that?
What was the original question?
It's 160, I think, if I'm right. Negative 160. Sorry, mate, beat you to it.
Go on.
Kill. Oh, I'm wrong. I've done some maths wrong.
Yeah, I think I heard the wrong numbers at the start.
Yeah, I think you might have.
glitched.
Okay, I'm gonna do the maths real quick. Hold on.
Go on.
So that was 260. 260 take away 1. What was that value? 1240 equals 820. Mate, you were way off. What's going on?
2.
And then 240
Yeah,
take
no,
away
I'm not.
820 was 420. 420. Sweet. And now they're moving at the same pace. Perfect. That's what we want. And so if you notice, within these 3 seconds, it starts and finishes at the same place. And so that means that it can loop. Obviously, I think that path speed, oh, that's not a bad path speed actually. And so that's cool. We'll leave that as. And now if we go with that mask layer, I'm just going to copy and paste that. Yeah, we can do that. No, why not? Delete that. Don't copy and paste it. Go mask, go layer, go down to track matte and just do the alpha matte like we did last time. Now what we can do is we can copy and paste that mask layer and just paste that above that first line. And now we should have perfect. And now I just want to make sure that both line layers are actually turned off, which means you can't see them outside of the mask and you can only see them within the mask, which is what we want.
True. So it's a reverse.
So it's reversed, yeah. So it takes a little bit to get your head around sometimes, but once you're there, you're there. And now obviously I want that that color to be like something like that. Let's do it to that guy first so that we can like that. And then with that one, we just want to use the eyedropper tool and match that first color. So now they're both the same color. Cool. Cool.
Oh.
Kill. Very kill.
Very.
So if we jump back into our master comp now, and we have that line layer, what we can see there is that guy animating over the 3 seconds. Now what I want to do here, just to make that a bit more manageable, I'll just drag our pin head to 3 seconds. And now if I go over here right to the edge of our composition, so you want to zoom out all the way for this and grab, see how my cursor here has gone to these kind of arrows. I just want to click and drag, oh, not that one. Click and drag and bring that to our 3 second mark. What that means is that after 3 seconds, that shape's basically turned off. But it makes it easier to see where that 3 second ends. And so now I want to, just by grabbing on that layer, I just want to move that across and just see when that circle appears. So from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, our circle is appearing. So I'm just going to drag that across to 4 seconds, which means our path goes there. And obviously our path's not in the right position because the ball's punching through it. And so just to change that, you can either just shift and arrow key the layer down, or you can jump it back into end position and just with the other number value, just punch that down slightly. And that way the ball's now bouncing on the path.
So cool.
Oh, nice.
So it should look something like that. And now if we want to, obviously after 3 seconds, our path's disappearing. And so
Yeah.
just to fix that up, I'm just gonna grab this whole layer, copy, paste, and then just drag that across. And so now we've got, it's because those layers loop, there's a seamless transition between those 2 layers.
Beautiful.
And I can just copy and paste that until our ball runs out.
So is the looping thing? Was that what you need the math for?
Yep, I just need to make sure that both of those line layers in here,
Yeah.
it's not shown, but wherever they were, it should be showing there, but that's a bit of a bug going on. It just means that those 2 lines need to be moving the same pixels at the same time, at the same rate. Otherwise, you can get overlapping of one of the layers onto the other, which then like isn't obviously going to make a perfect loop.
Yeah. Can you not pre-composite that?
And I could, if I wanted to tidy up these now, I could just and say I was happy with that length of that loop. I can now go here and pre-compose those as well. Which I may as well. Why not? Just although, when do we finish? Yeah, right. So I could probably don't need that 3rd one. Oh, what the heck? We'll just do it anyway. Recompose, and we'll just call that line animation. And now, now you've got one nice layer.
Cool.
And so, I mean, the movement of that types is linear still, so it's a little bit ugly. So what we could do if we wanted to, we could go in there and like before with the shape layer, we could go down here and edit the graphs on these keyframes and give them some ease. And so why don't we do that just to run over that technique again. So if we go into keyframe assistant, this time I'm just going to click on easy ease. And if we jump into there, now we can see that it's slow and then it speeds up and then it slows down again. Let's play that and see what it looks like. Still a little bit. What I might do is I might want to get it to start really fast and then slow off as it gets into the center. And so to do that, we're just going to drag that point. I'll just drag that out to the center. And now it slows down a lot when it gets to the center, but it starts off quite quick, which is quite nice. Yeah. And so I'll do the same, but the opposite to these guys. I'll make it so it slowly moves and then speeds out. And so same again, select both of them, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then with those selected, jump into that graph menu and click on a point and just drag that out to the center. And now that means that should just look a bit more interesting, which it does. Cool.
Yeah, nice.
And then it goes into that animation. And so say if we're kind of happy with that, we're like, yeah, we're stoked, that looks great, cool. But if I wanted to add like an end frame, like a big transition to a whole nother section, like I had in my original, which did I delete? Oh no, here we go. Just like that transition there.
Yeah.
An easy way to do that, instead of again being in here and animating all these elements to move out at the same time, I'll just literally command click on all of those. Oh, actually, we're already in a comp really, so I could pre-comp that, but there's probably it's probably just, since they're already in their composition of their own, I can probably just come up here and go new composition, and we'll call this one render, because this is the one that I'll render out, and we'll just make sure that that's 1920 by 1080 like our original size. All the same settings as before. It should just cross over from the last composition you made. Click OK on that, and then I'm just going to bring in animation in there. So now that's all in one file. And then say around 11 seconds, I want that to kind of just sweep out. And so under here in transform, jump into position and say I will sweep out in 1 second. And then we'll just move that, kind of drag that across till it disappears. Or I could type in -960 and that would probably be perfect. There it is.
Nice.
And so now that will sweep out. And again, if I wanted to add like if you had an end frame or something that you wanted to add, I'll just chuck in some type. You could jump into here and what do I have done? Done. And again, drag the anchor point into the center that up. And if we wanted to, text has some inbuilt animation that you can kind of select. Yeah. And for some of the animations that I showed you before, it was literally just by using some of these. And so if I just click on, open up our text, click on that animate triangle button there, it gives us this selection here. And so I might just go, I want to edit the space between letters and animate that. So maybe it starts out wide and compacts in or something like that. So I might jump in there, do tracking. And that brings up this new section under text now, which is called animator. And in there you have some options to kind of to animate that done. And so I might say, I might want it to start at say 300. And for this, I'm going to now make sure that that text layer is selected, jump into our paragraph, center that type, and then again, move our anchor point into the center, jump into a line, center that into our composition. Cool, now it's all centered up. And then I'll say for a second animation, we'll move that back to 0. And so now that type's just closing up like that. So a simple way to kind of animate some text in a different way. And obviously we don't want this over our whole animation file. So just to fix that, you just drop and drag that under our master comp layer. And that means it will only be revealed after that's done.
Nice.
Cool. And so say if we're, so we're all happy. Yep, go on. What was that there?
When you center, every time you put a text in, you center it, right? That point?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Yeah, so I think in the this text block here, my text is left aligned, but the anchor point is centered. And so when the anchor point's centered and I click on these two things, it centers that to the anchor point, not to where the text is aligned to. And so that's the same with that one. So everything basically goes off that one anchor point.
Yeah. So is that kind of like default that you do all the time when you put a new text? Is that recommended?
I mean, it depends what you're trying to do. Like if I want all the tracking to kind of hinge on the center point, then yes. But if I wanted to animate the text starting from, say, the left-hand side, then I would want that anchor point actually over there. And what we would do, is it the anchor point that does that?
Oh, that's all right. But
yeah, no,
if it's left aligned, then you can do like typewriting and stuff, right?
Yep. So like say if we wanted to do typewriting, why don't we just do that real quick, eh?
Yeah.
So if I'm in text, yeah, let's move that anchor point to the left-hand side, why not? And again, under animate, this time we'll go, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's actually a preset up here that might do the
That's
top
right.
setting
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, but if we wanted to animate it ourselves, which we can do, that is, oh shit, one. Just thinking the best way to do that. It might actually be animate our color. Might be the best way to do that.
Oh yeah.
And by moving, playing around with these.
Oh yeah.
And so what I might do is I might make the fill color the same color as our background.
Yeah.
And then by moving the end and start values, we can kind of begin to reveal letters, like a typewriter does.
Yeah.
And so that's
nice.
worked on. That doesn't really need, the anchor point doesn't do much there. It's more so these start and end values that you would begin to animate. So why don't we do that? We'll start there, and then 13 seconds, we'll go to 100. So it just kind of reveals that. Boom, boom, nice. Yeah. So that's how the text animators work. Pretty handy. Yeah, so now say we've finished the animation, we kind of want that type to kind of play its course. Maybe it sits for a second, and maybe we say we want that video to be 14 seconds long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm zoomed all the way out again, and just grab this guy here, which is this top bar, and just bring that to our 14-second mark, and we can just zoom in to make sure we've got that, which we have. And what this bar does, it means if I'm exporting, I only want to export the timeline from 0 seconds to 14 seconds. I don't want to export the rest of the composition, which is all this stuff, which nothing's going on. So that just means that's the start, that's the end, simple as that. And now, say if we want to export this, I'm going to go up into File, and I'm going to click Export. One way to do it is add to render queue. I prefer to use actually Adobe Media Encoder queue, and that's because in render, because it gives you a bit more options in how you want to render it, in terms of file type and a few other things. Whereas if we go, I'll do both, just so you can see. In the render queue, we're in here. We'll just wait for that to behave. So export to a render queue, it opens up the render queue panel down here. And in here, it exports as I think default is QuickTime, which is good if you wanted to do export a video with some transparency. What I found is that actually MP4s don't hold transparency. So if you wanted to export a video that you could overlay over something, you'd actually probably want to do it in the render queue, and you'd want to export as a QuickTime. So we'll close that, and we'll go. And we'll just create a folder. We'll call that export, wherever you want to send it to. So at the moment it's QuickTime, cool. And we'll call it render, sure. And in here you can play around with some of the settings. At the moment, the default's probably good enough for you. You probably don't need to change anything there. Best settings just means it's going to come out at full quality. If you wanted to render out something that was less file size, you could change that to one of those, and that will chop out some of our frames. But then your video will look a little bit juddery. So if I'm happy with all the settings there, I'll just go, okay, sweet. And I'll just click over here on that render. And then now that bar is just obviously showing the render time. Because it's a relatively short animation, it's not going to take too long. Sometimes you can build beasts that take, you know, an hour or so to kind of render out. But so that's done, and now we can go into wherever we've exported that. And if we open that, and we'll let QuickTime, for some reason, convert that. And now we have a video. Exported out. Easy.
Amazing.
Very good.
Done. How good.
That's crazy.
I won't worry about the media exporting out in the media encoder, but that basically functions in the same way. You've got your settings down here, and H264, that's how you get your MP4s. So if you want to remember that setting, and then here you've got different quality settings, and then that by clicking on that is just where you're saving and where you're naming stuff, and then you'll just click on play there, and that will render out. Cool.
So
All right.
cool.
I've done a lot of talking. Are there any questions or anything, any other steps you kind of want me to re-go through?
No, I mean, it's even good to just watch like someone else work on, because we have no ways of going around things. You know?
Yep.
I would never build I used to never make composites. I would just make everything in one timeline, and it would get like
right. Yeah, and then you get anxiety by the end of your animation because you can't find a layer. Yeah. Been there, done that many a times. Yeah. No, so they're super handy way of grouping stuff together.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks, Joel, for the tutorial, by the way. It's super interesting. This might be a crazy question, but is there any way that you can embed something like that into a PDF?
There is,
like,
actually.
I'm just thinking about a pitch deck for something, so.
Yeah, if you, I mean, InDesign has a function where you can kind of paste in a video file, and then if you export as an interactive PDF, which is an option when you're exporting a document out of InDesign, that embeds the video into it, and it embeds a video player into it as well, so they can click and play on that. So there is a way of doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
And so maybe in the design tutorial, which I'll do on Saturday, we can go over that if you want.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Looking forward to it.
Sweet. Yeah, cool.
Thanks.
No worries.
Joel.
Yeah, mate. Hey, man.
Can I show you what I've been able to do, and you just
Yeah, sure thing, man.
Okay.
I'd love
how
to.
do I just like, I've obviously tried to follow the steps.
I don't know if you can screen share, because I am, and only one person can at the time. So maybe you have to show me later.
Okay, I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, sounds good. But yeah, in saying that, I'd love to see what you guys come up with. So even if over the next week or whatever, if you play around with some of those techniques that you've learned, and begin to make some things, feel free to send them to me or ask me questions. I'm more than happy to even do a one-on-one video and walk you through some stuff if you need to. Otherwise, I can type out how to do stuff or critique or whatever it is. But yeah, those basics should be able to get you to do a whole lot of stuff.
So cool.
And yeah, you can have some fun, because it is pretty fun. I find it fun anyway.
It's cool, man.
So fun.
Cool. Any final remarks or questions?
I got very lost to be honest.
What was that, sorry?
I got pretty lost in the start, and so I started like following some other like tutorial thing, and now I just don't
Yeah.
know where I am.
Yeah. Oh, I am screen recording this, so I can I'll chuck it up on the Facebook page, and you can re-go
Yeah,
over
that'd
it
be
if you need to. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Oh well. On Friday night, I think Ben's going to do another tutorial on drawing, and so if you're keen on that, I think it's 7 o'clock. He's looking at doing that, so get amongst that. That'll be cool. And then, yeah, like I said, on Saturday we'll go through InDesign, which is a like does layouts and publications. So it's a program for that. So yeah, cool.
Joe, I just added my video to the chat.
Oh yeah, good.
Cool video untitled -1.mp4. You can just
Look at you, you figured out how to export. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'll just download that quickly. Mate, star pupil.
So
here you go. Nice. Tell you what, that's very good. Did you get a bit lost there, Matt? Like I'm a bit fast for you. Sorry, mate.
it's a gift.
I tell you what, I wouldn't hire you if that's what you came to me with. That's for sure.
Sorry, man, I got a bit lost.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Hey, I appreciate you following along anyway, to the best of your capabilities. That's very good. Cool. Oh well, we're going to end the call there. But I appreciate you guys taking it out to upskill. That's cool. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one with Ben. Should be good.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
See you guys.
All right. See everybody.
Bye.